Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the LCG Production Podcast. I'd like to welcome Twisted Beats. Thanks so much for coming on, man. So I always start by just asking sort of like how you got into music and how it's led to where you are now.
So I first got into music. I was in, I think, 6th grade, might have been 7th grade. I was like 11 years old. And we had this music class it's just like a general music class, and they taught us how to use GarageBand. And I like fell in love with it. Like I wanted to figure this thing out. It was so cool. Like I didn't know that you could make music on a computer. So I went back home after that, and I had a Mac, so it was already on there. And I kind of kept messing around with it, and then eventually just got more and more into making music, and pretty much just gone since then. It's always been a big passion of mine. Like I constantly listen to music, and I really love the culture around it. So I went to school for a little bit. I went to college for entrepreneurship at Drexel University, and I was like, wait, no, like I don't want to do this. This is not for me. I want to focus on my music and everything. So yeah, just been kind of going since then.
That's cool. It's weird how everyone's stories that line up. Like, so you originally just started making beats, and now you're really focused on helping artists. So that's why like listening to me so helpful for them.
Hold on. Sorry, I think I lost connection for a second. What'd you say?
Okay. Are you good?
Yeah, we're good. I can hear you.
Great. I was just going to say, like, it's so interesting how people's stories lead to where they are in music. But you originally started off just making like beats and like content for producers, and now you're incredibly focused on helping artists, and you know a lot about social media. So that's why it's going to be so useful for everyone listening.
Yeah. Well, and I think I kind of made all the mistakes, right? Because I started off with my other Instagram account, and I was creating content, putting out beats and everything. And this was like maybe 4 years ago. And I was making content, but it was all for other producers, and I was only engaging with other producers. So it's kind of difficult to sell beats to producers. And this is when I started getting more and more into marketing and trying to learn all that stuff, because I was trying to figure out how do I sell my beats. And I realized, oh, okay, wait, I can't like do my engagement and everything with producers. Like that's never going to work. So then I transitioned. So I already had a following, of course, of producers. So I transitioned into creating content for them and focus more on like doing drum kits, melody packs, all that kind of stuff. And that's when I really started getting more into business and marketing, kind of learn all that stuff. And at the same time, I started to work with people more outside of the music industry, with helping them to grow their followings on Instagram, and started really like falling in love with that and developing my own passion for that as well. And that led me to realizing that instead of working with people outside of the music industry, what I had been doing, that I should just work with people inside the industry and really help artists to grow their fan bases on Instagram. So
yeah, that's cool. And like people really struggle with Instagram, especially now. Like it just seems like if you don't know your shit, it just seems like the algorithm's trying to like fuck you over every single day. Yeah. And like you know your shit. So I guess my first question is, why should we be focusing on Instagram? Why, if just an artist starting out, would you encourage them to get into Instagram, and why?
I think Instagram is the best one to start with because one, everybody has an Instagram for the most part. Two, it's sort of like your base profile, I guess. Like it's almost like your resume. People are going to go to your Instagram first. It's usually the most accessible one. And I like all of the different things that it does. Instagram, like they're kind of famous for stealing everything else that everyone has made, right? Like they stole stories, they stole reels from TikTok. So they've kind of got this huge amalgamation of different types of posts. And that really enables you to show off exactly who you are in a variety of different ways and to connect with your fans in a lot of ways. You've got your live feature, you've got like a bajillion different types of posts, you've got stories, like there's just absolutely everything. And they're still implementing new features every day. In fact, I think I heard recently that they might be taking some sort of feature from Clubhouse even and starting to implement that in Instagram. So that's why I think it's really such a great tool, is because it has all of the stuff that all the other platforms have, and it has a gigantic user base. And if you do know what you're doing, it is actually pretty easy to grow on. in a consistent way. And the people that you are going to get from Instagram are going to be some of your best fans. They're going to be the people that are really going to love you because of all the different ways that you can get them to connect with who you are as a person.
100% agree with you there. And like, I started off by just uploading it because I felt like I had to connect people, and I started to figure out, I'm like, oh, it does actually work when you know what's going on. So what should artists be doing to grow their Instagram? I know that's a huge question, but if you could just sort of sum it up into like key points.
I think really determining who it is that you actually want to attract as your followers and then eventually as your fans. That's like the most important thing, like niching down and realizing, okay, like I don't need to get everyone to listen to my music. I need to get, this specific type of person to listen to my music. And then really from there, it's saying, okay, so how do I do that? How do I get that person to be interested in what I'm doing, what my music is, and really attracting them? So everything that will line up to that specific person, right? Your branding, the type of content that you make, like everything is going to line up to basically making that person interested in you. So that's like the most important thing. And then everything else from there, it kind of just lines up into that, right? So your hashtags even are going to be, well, what is that person like? What are they going to follow, right? If you make really like kind of chill, like beachy music, for example, your hashtags are probably going to represent something like that, like beach music, chill music. Like you want them to be everything to be based around what it is that your fan is going to be interested in. And you have to be a little bit self-aware of like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my sort of vibe, I guess. And then be able to present that in a way to them that's going to be interesting enough for them to follow you. And then after that, you have to come up with a way of connecting with them, usually through stories. And I don't mean like Instagram stories itself, but through telling your story, through creating content that informs them of something or gets them to see the world in a different way. That would really be what gets them to connect with you. And then that will turn them in from a follower into a fan.
Yeah, and that's so important because, sorry to cut you off there. That's so important because like once you have a fan, it's not just on Instagram, they'll follow you anywhere. So I always encourage people to think they're growing on Instagram. What happens if Instagram goes tomorrow? Like, how are you going to do? If you have fans, that goes above everything. Like they will follow you. So that's ultimately what you're trying to grow. Just going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, you'll know this, but it's incredibly important to like hop on the new things that are coming out. Like whether you want to get on TikTok, but if you're on Instagram, you need to be doing reels right now. So what sort of things help your reels like grow basically?
So content that is really engaging typically is something that's going to grab your attention in the first couple of seconds. So specifically in reels, like you want it to really draw you in immediately. Our attention spans are so short nowadays that you really need it to immediately grab your attention. And the reels that do that are going to be the ones that do really well. Instagram will say, oh, okay, like people are usually, people that watch the first few seconds of it will then usually watch all of it. That's a really great sign for Instagram, and they'll actually show it to more people based off of that. I'm a little bit newer to the whole reel thing, but what I've noticed for myself is that bright colors, any sort of saturated colors is also really important. And also just like good choice of music. If it's something a little different, like I used something from this guy, Burning Forest Boy. If he happens to watch this, I love his music. But it's like a kind of a crazy sounding beat, and it sort of grabs your attention, right? You don't like hear something like that too often. If it's the same song that everybody else is using, it's like kind of boring. Now, for a lot of artists, they're going to want to use their own music, which is also awesome. And in that case, they really need to do something to visually grab your attention, which is a little bit easier to do. And usually one good way of doing that is through some sort of movement. So I've actually noticed this in YouTube ads. So the ads that are really attention grabbing are usually the ones where they're walking, or if they're moving, like, and somehow there's movement involved. It just catches your eye a little bit more and really pulls you in kind of makes you go like, oh, what's going on? So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for reels.
Yeah. What sort of like really specific type of post do you think artists can do? Because like it's very like easy for us to sit here and like talk about it in that way, but like what sort of like just types of posts, like them standing in front of camera, freestyling, or like what sort of things do you see working?
I think it really is actually a variety of things. You want to have a bunch of different types of content that are going to show off different sides of you. So maybe one post, it is just like a picture of you or whatever, but then the caption is a little bit more like a story or something that, or an experience that you had, right? Just telling about whatever it is. And then another post could be, maybe you have an upcoming song. It's the behind the scenes. It's like a longer form video or something where you're just like showing people, oh, like this is how I made the song. This is kind of the backstory behind it. That could be an IGTV post. And then you could have like a real post where that's like a snippet of that song. So really it's kind of like having a nice diverse range of content. And again, it's going to all come back to that, I call it an ideal fan. So you want to determine what the pleasure points and the pain points of that person are. Like, what is it that they're looking for? What is it that they actually want to get out of you? What experience is it that you're providing for them? And then create your content based around that. So coming up with all of those different things will then inform you on, okay, so I should make a piece of content that is going to meet this pleasure point, is going to meet this pain point for them. And so really it's just having like a big range of that, but again, all coming back to meeting the needs of that ideal fan.
Yeah, that's cool. And the thing about Instagram is like, when you think about it, someone follows 1,000 people. If you're scrolling through your feed, you might only see like maybe 100 accounts the most. So like your content needs to be really good nowadays to get shown to a lot of people. So like gone are the days where you can just post like a random photo and expect it to get shown to like 80% of your followers. Like from all my experience, a post either needs to provide like valuable information or entertain someone. And that's the only two things that you should really think about when you're posting. And that's what I started doing. And it really helped me. Like how much information is this providing that they really want to hear, or how funny is this basically? And like, that's it. And or not funny, just like invoke emotion. Like if it makes whatever, just someone feel something, that's how you really grab someone's attention. The other thing about
emotions are key.
Actually getting someone in. What sort of things do you think artists should be doing, not to gain followers that they can then turn into fans? Because followers are the important thing. It's the actual fans. Like what should you do to gain followers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be having conversations with people. And this is actually a way that you can get people to see your posts more, is DMing them, right? Like have a conversation in the DMs with them. Just ask them some questions. And one that will actually get it so that they see your post, because Instagram will say, oh, okay, they had a conversation about something. They DM'd for a while. So that they must be friends. And then it'll actually show your post to them in the future. So that's really one way that you can get your post seen by more people. But then also, like, it's a bit more memorable. Like they'll actually remember, oh yeah, I remember I had a conversation with that guy. I like his post is really cool. I'm going to check him out. And they know who you are a little bit more. And that helps increase your brand recognition, which is one of the big things on Instagram. It's like getting people to actually recognize you and say, oh, I remember that person. So just having conversations, I think, but also engaging with people in their posts too. So I spend probably like 2 hours a day on Instagram, just going through and all the people that I follow, and I'm constantly like just commenting on their stuff, liking their posts, sending them a message, going to their stories, like constantly. And it is kind of time consuming, but I also really enjoy doing it because I get to talk to all these people that, are involved in music and everything. So I think that artists can definitely do that too. Like you can have all of your fans and have a conversation with them and really try to get to understand your fans better through DMing them and through, really going through all of their posts and seeing what they're saying and actually interacting with them.
Mm-hmm. So would you think it might be a good idea to just donate a certain portion of your day to engaging with people in your home feed? So people who you like already follow, and then another proportion of your day just DMing people who you don't follow. Something that I find really works is like find someone who has your target audience. So like if you're a rapper listening, find the rapper who's most similar to you, go through their following, and then you just DM the people who follow them, and they're basically your target audience. But the only issue about that is it's very time consuming. So like, I don't know what your opinion is on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think honestly it's kind of good to take that slowly. Like I wouldn't send too many of those DMs or try to expand your audience too quickly, because you really want to build that relationship with that person. So instead of, like, I know a lot of people do that and they'll send out or follow like 100 people in one day, and that's just like too many people. You can't actually keep up with that many people. So take it a little bit slower and kind of let people come to you naturally. Like I would say maybe focus on doing 10 people a day and really try to find the best people. And like your strategy, like you said, for going to the most, like a rapper that's similar for you, that's really good. And I would even say go to the people that comment on their posts, because they're the most highly engaged people, the people that are going to take the time to actually like comment something. So they're actually the biggest fans of those people. And you can just find 10 to 15 of those people every day, spend 30 minutes and just like some of their posts, comment on something and then shoot them a DM or whatever it is. But I would really say like, don't do too many, because one, it's time consuming, but two, like you can't actually keep up with that many people, and you want to keep that continuous interaction with them, so that you can actually turn them from being just a person to a follower and to a fan.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And how much success are you and like artists who you work with at the moment seeing with hashtags?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Through hashtags, I think we cut out there, but like how much success do you think are artists you working with having through hashtags at the moment?
A lot. So hashtags, like I think a lot of people expect hashtags to like not work at all, but hashtags, like I can get, I think one of my posts recently reached over 1,000 people just from hashtags, and I have like 260 followers. And you can get way more than that even once you can start to rank on slightly larger hashtags. And it's really understanding which hashtags to use that your fans are actually going to be interested in or are following. And also which hashtags how many those top posts in those hashtags, how many likes and comments they're getting, and then try to use hashtags of a similar size of that you are getting on your post. So say you're getting 40 likes on average on each post. Try to use hashtags that will have the ranking posts that are around 40 likes. So that way you actually can rank on them, and Instagram will actually show your post in those hashtags to more people. But yeah, hashtags are like a fantastic tool, and people like don't use them nearly enough. And I think they just underestimate the power. One of the things too is like don't use gigantic hashtags. Like anything over 1 million, I would almost never use, because it's just hard to rank on, one, but two, there's so many posts being put into those hashtags all the time that you're just gonna kind of get like instantly washed out, I guess. Like you're almost never, if you do rank on it, it might be for like one day. So using that, but also using like as many as you can. Like a lot of people use like 5 to 10 hashtags. I really will use 25 to 30, really as many as I possibly can think of for that post. So yeah, hashtags are awesome. I love hashtags.
So do you create lists of hashtags, or like per post, you just think of some up? Like what's your sort of strategy?
So what I do is I actually have a gigantic hashtag bank. And what I've done is I break it down into different post sizes. So there's like 1,000 posts to 10,000 posts, and then there's 10,000 posts to 100,000 posts, and then 100,000 posts to 250,000 posts, 250 to 500,000, and 500,000 to 1,000,000. And then I break it down further into categories after that. So for me, for example, there's like music marketing ones, or like marketing based ones. There's specific like Instagram tips or something like that. So like breaking it down into more specific areas that you typically will post about, and then after that, even you can kind of separate, or sorry, after that you will go through and for each specific post, I'll usually come up with another 4 or 5 for whatever that post is about. So I think I did a post recently about the algorithm, and that one had specific hashtags for the algorithm that I had put into the hashtag bank. So usually I'll use, most of them are kind of like ones that I'll pick out, and I'll use a variety of sizes. So it'll be like a couple of smaller hashtags, a couple of medium hashtags, and a couple of bigger hashtags. And then I'll use a couple of individual ones for each post too.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my secret hashtag strategy.
Yeah, that will be getting clipped.
Awesome.
Do you use any sort of like hashtag tool? Because something I found that works really well is I started off by using something called hashtag.io, and then I used Flick, and it basically, you connect your account and it will tell you that pretty much guarantees which hashtags you'll rank on. So like, and it really fucking works. Like you know where you're going to go with that. Do you recommend using anything like that?
Most of them, I've tried a bunch. I've tried so many. Most of them suck. Like, don't use them, because it'll just recommend like top hashtags that are going to be like millions of posts, or just aren't going to work for your market. So most of them suck. Now, I actually did check out Flick. You actually sent that to me, and I was like, this one seems really good. But personally, I just do all my own research and everything, and just create that gigantic hashtag bank. And that's what works for me.
And it works. It works.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think Flick, like that, again, that option seems really good. And if it'll probably end up saving a little bit more time. So if you want to invest a little bit of money into that, you can do that. I think they have a trial too.
I just used the trial and kept using the trial, and then you get banks of hashtags, and like, I think even if you're going to pay, like, I think it's worth it, just because you connect your account, so like it has to be right.
No, I think about like, if you can reach 1,000 new people with each post that you put out because of your hashtags, like I think that's pretty worth it to invest a little bit of money into it. That's almost like you're spending a little bit of money on ads. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. Except it's just hashtags. So.
Yeah. It's a bit different topic, but how do you recommend artists set out their profile and like profile photo, like what's in their bio, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I really recommend just using a profile picture of yourself, like your face. Your face should be somewhere in there, because we as humans are really good at recognizing faces, right? Like, and people say that all the time, like, oh, I'm not good with names, but I can think of faces and I recognize faces. And that'll help you increase your brand recognition if you have your profile picture as your face, because people will be scrolling through Instagram and they'll be, oh, there's that guy. Like, I remember that face very specifically. Logos, stuff like that, like they're okay. But really having you and your face in the profile picture is, I think, the best. And then bright colors too, even putting like a little ring around your profile picture with like a color. I don't do that personally, but I've heard that a lot of people do that, and that helps. It just kind of makes it pop out a little bit better. Having story highlights is another big one, especially for your music. So I would even have one with like, just has music, and it's just examples of what it is that you actually make, right? It should be easy for people to find your music very quickly as soon as they get onto your profile. I go to artists all the time where I'll tap on their profile and I'm like, okay, like it says you're an artist, it says that you rap, but like I can't find anything. Like I don't really want to have to go click the link, because that's like a whole thing. Like I have to go to a link. I have to usually go to like a link tree, find the thing, and no, that's too much. People want to be able to tap on one thing and listen to it instantaneously, so that way they can decide, okay, do I want to follow this person or do I not want to follow this person? So make it super easy for them to do that. That's one of the big things. For your bio, I would say telling a little bit about yourself, but then also speaking to your ideal fan, right? Saying like, this is the kind of music I make, and I make it for this type of person. And try to give them this kind of experience. And that way you're communicating very clearly, like, okay, this is like who I want to pull in and this is who I want to attract. I think that's pretty much everything for profiles.
Yeah. And what do you sort of recommend artists have as their profile link? Because most people have a link tree, but do you think that's just like too many things that people can get lost in, or do you recommend people have that?
That's a good question. I've been kind of going back and forth on it. And I think the thing with a link tree is if you have a lot of stuff in there, it can be very distracting. People will go check out one thing and then they'll be like, oh, like I want to go to this other thing, and it's a little bit too much. So I used to say don't use that at all, and just have one link that you can be like, okay, go to this, because that way also you can put in your bio like, hey, I just made this song about, let's say you help or you make music for trying to help people that have like some sort of mental depression, and you just talk about that a lot in your music. You've had experiences with that, so you say, hey, like I made this song about my experience with mental depression, go check it out. Like, and then it's just a link right to that you'll get a lot of people that will actually go check it out. It's a little bit more powerful than having like just a link tree, because it's a little bit more direct. However, at the same time, like I think you need to have a couple of links. And I would try to keep it, if you are going to use it like a link tree or something, keep it pretty limited. So maybe have like 3 to 4 options at the most. So that way it's not too overwhelming and there's not too many things for people to get distracted with, or to just have too many options. If you have too many options, you're actually going to end up not making a decision because there's too many things for you to look at. It's one of the big things I learned in business and marketing.
Yeah. This is a little quick, but for anyone listening, if you have Linktree, you need to put a Facebook pixel on it. Even if you don't want to use it, it basically means you can just retarget those people with ads if you ever want to do that in the future. So just add the pixel, and then you can have all those people. You don't need to advertise them, but it's just like tracking the info is very important. I guess the next thing I kind of want to talk about is stories. Like, how do you recommend artists should use stories?
I think the biggest thing is actually utilizing stories to learn more about your ideal fan, right? So a lot of people will use like that question sticker or whatever to have people ask them questions. I would actually say you should use it to ask them questions. Try to learn more about them. What are they interested in? What do they want to see from you? What do they like? What do they not like? Do they like this song? Do they not like this song? Do they like this version of your song better, or this other version of your song better? Really trying to gather as much information about your followers and about your fans as you possibly can. So that way you can create better content for them. That way you can just offer them more value, basically. But as well, you want to kind of give that, like, it is called the story for a reason, right? You want to kind of give off your life story a little bit and show a little bit more of the like behind the scenes, I guess, kind of thing. This is where you can go into like more about yourself and maybe tell some of the stories and everything. So I hate that there's like, that's the same word, but like tell a story about yourself on your stories. I think that's one of the great ways to use the stories. But really, I think using like the questions and the polls and all of those kinds of things is super important to just like learn about your follower. And then also it actually will boost your engagement. Instagram sees like, oh, like, 20 people saw this story and 10 of them or 15 of them interacted with it and clicked the little button. That means that those people are actually interested. It'll actually boost your engagement rate, and more people will end up seeing that story or a group of stories than if you didn't have a question or a poll or anything like
that. Another thing that I found as well, like, you're completely right. And also when people like go to your account, if it like, it'll show them that you have a story, and it's just kind of like showing that you're active. Like if I go to see someone's account and it shows that they have stories, it's like, right, I'm following this person and I'm going to get like information about them, and I'm going to like be able to whatever consume content. But like if I'm just going to some rapper's page and they don't have a story on there at the time, it might just make me like a bit less like following, a bit less likely to become a fan. So it's just like, it takes no effort. Just put at least like one story up every day. I recommend doing that.
Like at least one, right? That's what I was going to say, is like, I always make sure I have at least one story up, even if it's just a picture of outside, because it's like, okay, this person is actually on Instagram. They're actually doing something, especially with, if you're not going to post like every single day, posting on your stories is still a great way to connect with and communicate with your fans, and just show them that you're still there. Get them to keep interacting with you.
Yeah. How often do you think artists should be posting?
That's a good question. I think it kind of comes down to how much time you really have, uh, and also what it is that you're going to be posting. But I say what I think is the best is 3 times, 4 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, something like that. That's like a pretty good number. If you can post more than that, that's great. If you can't, that's okay too. But really maintaining consistency is the key. Like you want to be posting, if you post 2 or 3 times a week, do that every single week. Don't, I posted 20 times this week, and then next week I didn't post at all. And then the week after that I posted twice. And then the week after that I posted 45 times. And it's like, that's just a little bit too much. The algorithm isn't going to have an easy time of determining like, what is it that this person is doing, and who and how they should be showing your content. And so that's kind of an answer for that. But also don't post more than like 2 times a day. Once you get past like 2-3 times a day, it just becomes way too much content. People won't actually see most of it. They might see one or so of your posts instead. So yeah, really like don't post more than like 2 or 3 times a day. It just becomes a little bit too crazy. And your other posts won't do as well. So I've been kind of messing around and testing this a little bit more on my account, but what I've seen on other people's account is that it's actually good to have more time in between posts, because more people will end up seeing it than if you just post constantly every single day, or are posting multiple times a day, especially. Instagram will actually show it to a wider percentage of your audience if you just post a little bit less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because like you're trying to find the balance between basically like building a fan base and connecting with people, but you also need to be posting good stuff which people engage with, so it gets shown to enough people, so that you can build the most like brand. Basically, like as a rapper, like you're going to want to connect with the most people possible. So just finding that balance, like, and whatever works for you. Like it was a tough question I asked. Like it's different for every person, but just do the most you can and stay 100% like consistency is anything. Like I don't care if you have to post once a week. If you post once a week for like 10 years, like you're set. You just need to stay consistent. That is the most important thing, like through the whole of music, basically, and just in general.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I struggled with too, especially on my older account. Was I would post consistently for like 2 months, but then I would get super burnt out because I was trying to post like every single day, and I would get super burnt out, and I would just like hate having to create all this content, and then I wouldn't post for like 2 or 3 months. And then it was like I was kind of back at zero again. I had all these followers, but none of them had been engaging with me. So when I did come back to posting, it was significantly more difficult to get them to like re-engage with me. So I think really like paying attention to that, and not trying to overdo it, not like burning yourself out, basically. Because then you're gonna like not post for 2 months, and it's actually worse than if you just posted once or twice a week, but you did it every week consistently.
Yeah, I've seen accounts, and they just like they'll take like a 3-month break, and that's like the worst fucking thing for the algorithm. Like it kills you. It kills out. It's so tough. So like you're completely right. Just stay consistent. That's the main thing.
Definitely.
How did you? Because you did a post the other week about like everyone talks about like grinding and working. So we kind of disagreed about that, because I think sometimes like you just have to do stuff you don't like. Like I don't like marketing as much as I like making beats, but like I realize you kind of have to do it. But what's your sort of opinion on that stuff?
So, and I agree with you, right? Like I totally get what you're saying, and what I'm really trying to say is not like, it's how you actually approach that stuff, how you approach the day. So how you approach even just making your own music and everything. A lot of people try to come at it from this way of like I'm just gonna grind every day. I'm gonna like trying to work my ass off, and that's great. Like you'll get a lot done, but you're gonna get burnt out, kind of like what I was saying earlier. And instead of approaching it from, well, here, let me give an example. I think that'll actually illustrate my point a little bit better. So, for example, let's say you're working on an album, an upcoming album. Instead of it being like, I'm just gonna I'm gonna do 17-hour days every day. I'm gonna stay up all night. I'm doing all-nighters just because for the sake of that, just for the sake of working hard. Instead, it should be, you know what, like I'm working on this album and I am in love with this process so much, and I love what I'm doing so much that I actually want to stay up late and I want to pull an all-nighter because I'm working on this song right now and it's so good, and I'm just like, I don't want to stop. Right. And of course, like, you're gonna have the things that come up that you don't um, like want to do, and I guess that like is a little tougher, but I think keeping in mind like your ambition and your end goal will help you push through that a little bit more. And I don't know, for me, like, I used to think I wouldn't want to learn marketing or business or anything like that, but as I got more and more into it, like, I started to really enjoy doing it, and it became a lot easier. So yeah, for the grinding thing, like, it's kind of a personal thing, but uh, I think it's just being really careful not to work hard just for the sake of working hard. You should work hard because you want to do whatever it is that you are doing so badly that you end up like being driven to do it, right? Like, you want to produce music, um, and you want to make this your full-time thing so bad that you're willing to do that marketing and the other stuff, instead of it being like, oh, you know, like, I'm just gonna work my ass off and I'm just gonna grind. I'm just gonna grind. It's like, that's great, but you're gonna get burnt out like super quickly.
I get what you're saying. And believe it or not, that's been 40 minutes, but top tips, top mistakes that you see artists making on Instagram.
Not using enough hashtags. That's definitely one. Or just like using bad hashtags, like hashtag music. It's not specific enough. Also, kind of, I think the biggest thing, like I said, was just determining who your ideal fan is, right? Who is it, that person that's going to like your music? Who is it that, how do they think? What do they want? What are they looking for? What experience do they want? And only talking to that person. I think the biggest mistake that most people make is that they expect everybody to listen to their music. So determining more of your niche and really just talking to that person, that's like the biggest thing. And then diversifying your content, right? So not just posting the same thing over and over again, or not just posting your music. Like, you want to have maybe some posts that are about you, telling the stories about yourself. Some posts about your music, some posts maybe even about your fans, some posts about your other hobbies even that you have. And just creating a nice diverse base of content for your ideal fan to interact with and connect with you on. I think those are the biggest things.
Yeah. So where should everyone find you?
On Instagram at Twistedxbeats. That is the place.
Any other socials at the moment, or? Sorry.
Nope, that's pretty much it. No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. I was just gonna say, just DM me. I'd love to connect with everybody and start some conversations. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'd love to answer anything I can about Instagram. But no, yeah, Instagram that's the place that I'm focused on right now.
That's great.